Here we have another process which is called as trimming. So I'll just read what is trimming. Punching away excess material from the perimeter of a part, such as trimming the flange from a drawn curve. Okay, so drawing is another operation what we will be discussing in the future slides. So what is happening is, imagine this is the product what have been created, and the perimeter, in the sense the outer circle, the edges of the circle, maybe they are not equal and they're not neatly aligned. So what do? We just trim out the extra excess material. So we are just removing this material which was present over here. Okay, that is called as trimming process. We are just trimming certain amount of material to remove it, and the leftover will be the needful product which can be used. Clear? So this is about trimming. I'll just go to the next slide, and this is a very simple operation called as parting. So what we are doing is, initially this metal was completely a single piece of metal. Clear? It was connected like this. Just imagine. Okay, it was connected like this. What are we doing? We are removing a scrap from it. This is a scrap. I'll change the color to darker color. So this is a scrap over here, and this is the two different materials what we have split it. So separating a part from the remaining sheet by punching away the material between the parts. So we are just punching off the material, and the leftover work pieces of metal, these will be utilized for different operations again. This operation is called as parting operation. I'll just go to the next slide. Here we have another operation of sheet metal, which is generally called as slitting. So what are we doing in slitting is, we are not removing any material. We are not taking out any scrap material. We are simply cutting the sheet metal in a form of a line. So you can see there is a single cut over here, and on the other side also we have another cut over here. So we are kind of creating a rip over here. We're just cutting, we are just utilizing the cutting tool, and we're just giving a cut so that the metal comes out like this. I'll just clear everything. Clear? So this is a slitting process. So you can see over here, no scrap material is produced in the slitting process. So this is a very simple operation. I hope you have understood about it. We have the next operation over here, which is called as lancing operation. Clear? So in this process, or in this operation, we are again cutting the material. We are not removing, or we are not eliminating any scrap from the sheet metal. Okay, but you can see the different shapes over here. So how does this shape, how is this shape generated? We are creating a cut over here, we are creating a cut over here, and we are creating a cut over here. Clear? And we are bending the sheet in the form of 90 degrees over here. Clear? Then we are just creating 1, 2 and 3 cuts over here, and we are creating a bend in this way. Clear? And this is another cutting process. We are just creating a slit over here, and we are applying certain force from the bottom, and we are seeing that this metal comes out in this way. Clear? So I'll just written over here, creating a material cut in the sheet so that no material is removed. I mentioned you there is no scrap in the lancing procedure or operation. The material is left attached to be bent and form a shape, such as a tab, vent and a louver. So this is the tab. I'll just clear it. So we can call this as a tab over here, and this is the vent, and this is the louver. You can see over here. I believe I'm just pronouncing it correctly. So this is the tab, vent and a louver. So this is a kind of lancing process. We are not having any scrap material. We are just cutting it and applying some operation on it. That is bending it. Clear? So I'll just go to the next slide. The next operation is a very simple operation, that is nothing but notching. And in this process, we are punching out the material. Okay, so I've written over here, punching the edge of a sheet, forming a notch in the shape of a portion of the punch. Clear? So obviously, if we want to remove certain material in different forms, clear, we require a punch, and the punch should have that particular form which we are required. Clear? So in this particular case, the punch was having an arc over here. Clear? That is the reason when the punch was applied over here, the scrap was removed. This kind of scrap was removed, and the leftover is a notch. Clear? So here we had the V notch over here. You can see V shape has been removed. This indicates that the punch was in the form of a V shape. Now this was a rectangular kind of notch. This is again a V, and this is an arc. So this process of removing the material at the edges, I mean if you are removing a material at this edges, it is called as notching. I hope you have understood. It is very simple, and I'll just go to the next slide very quickly. The next operation is the perforating operations. Can you take a guess where do we find this such kind of perforating? I mean, the kind of this perforating is nothing but a set of holes which are generated or which are created on the sheet metal. So you can see there are plenty of holes arranged, and the most common application of perforation on the material or the metal is in enclosures which involve electronics. If you find certain electronical equipments such as CPU enclosures or microwave enclosures, maybe you will be finding perforation on the exterior enclosure, or you will be finding the lancing or slitting. Most commonly I have found lancing in the water cooler, and we will be having perforating in the CPU enclosures most commonly, and also at any different enclosures where there is a presence of heat and which we want it to be eliminated outside. So we perforate the material, and in perforation we are basically creating holes, we are punching it, and we are just eliminating the scrap of holes, and the leftover sheet will be used for the application desired. Clear? The next process is nibbling. Over here we are punching a series of overlapping holes. Okay, for example, a punch removes a circular hole. So what we are doing is we are punching the punch on the material, clear, in this fashion. I mean we're just overlapping the holes to each other, and whatever thing what we are finding will be a nibbling. Whatever process what we are doing is called as a nibbling operation. Clear? So you can see the material is being removed over here, and you can find different circular shapes over here. These are nothing but the punch shapes. And I'll just go to the next slide. The next operation is called as embossing. So you must have seen plenty of novelty items which are present, and they are basically embossed. You might be realizing something by looking at this image. Maybe you are aware of certain thing at your home which is basically an embossed product. Clear? So what are we doing is we are taking a sheet metal, and obviously we require a punch, we require a die, right? We require a punch and we require a die, and obviously they should be having the shape which we are desired, and the force is applied, and the metal is converted into an embossed shape. So you can see it is coming out. For example, if this is the side view, it is a flat sheet. Okay, it is a flat sheet. Imagine embossing in the sense it comes out like this. I mean some kind of shape comes out. This is called as embossing. It is embossed on the top. I mean it is coming out from the flat level. Clear? We are applying certain kind of force with the help of punch and die. Clear? So this is about embossing. The next technique is a shaving technique. In this technique we are basically shearing away. What are we shearing away? We are shearing the minimal material from the edges. So generally what's happening is in the process of different operations, sometimes what happens is the edges are not clean. I mean they're not perfectly rectangular in shape. In that particular cases we are utilizing the process of shaving, and we are trimming out certain amount of material from the edges, and this material which will be removed out will be very minimal in thickness. Clear? In comparison to the shearing process, in shearing process we are literally cutting the material into halves, okay, or the desired lengths as per the requirement. But in shaving technique we are just shaving off or trimming off the minor edges from the sheet metal. Clear? So this is about the shaving operation. I'm going a little bit fast. Maybe you can you might be thinking I'm a bit faster, but I just want to explain you with the help of images. The objective of the course is to discuss about the software, so just remember that thing at first. Clear? And we have the cutoff operation right now. This is again a very simple operation. So in this operation what are we doing is we are cutting off the metal into two pieces. Okay, for example this is a complete single piece. Okay, I'll just draw over here. This is a complete single piece. Imagine from here to here. So what are we doing is we are applying a punch from the top that cuts away the material in this fashion. Okay, you can see it is creating a cut over here, right? and there is no scrap in this material. Okay, we are just cutting it. You can just imagine you're using a scissor and cutting out. If you're using a scissor and cutting the paper, then there is no scrap if you're cutting in this way, right? Obviously the paper will be split it into two pieces, but there is no scrap. So in the similar way, we are applying the cutoff operation using a punch, and the sheet metal is divided into pieces. So here also it is punched over here also, you can see it is cut off, and the other material which was present in this region has been utilized for different applications. So this process is basically required. For example, if we want this shape of sheet metal n number of quantities in n number of quantities, then we can take a complete raw material of a longer length, and we will be cutting off depending on the shape what we desired. Okay, so we will be generating n number of pieces of same shapes basically. Clear? So this is the process of cutting off. I'll just go to the next slide. So this is a basic kind of piercing process or an operation. Let us read what is written over here. A specialized form of piercing used for punching soft metal. Okay, so what are we doing is we are having the sheet metal over here, then we have the wooden block over here which is used for supporting it, and we have a dinking die over here. Clear? And if you notice the die, it is having a circular shape. I mean, this is a cut section view. It will be in a circular shape like this. Clear? Now we are utilizing this technique for soft metals. You can see over here this kind of piercing technique. If you remember, piercing technique is a technique of removing holes or the scrap from the metal. Clear? So this metal is a soft metal, and for soft metals, dinking process is applied for piercing out the material. Clear? And the die which is hitting the sheet metal is beveled actually. If you see over here, it is having a kind of sharp shape over here, and this sharp edges, what you can tell of this edges of the die presses the sheet into the block, right? They come from the top with certain force, and the presses the sheet metal, and we have the scrap eliminated from the sheet metal. So this is called as a dinking process. It is quite funny name actually. And now next process is the coining process. This is also exactly similar to the embossing, with a minor difference that the kind of shape what we are having on both the sides is different actually. So in embossing, what we are doing is we are having a shape on one side. Clear? That I mean, the punch is created in the form of shape desired, and the sheet metal is punched, and the metal is embossed from the top. That shape is represented on the top. Clear? But in this coining process, the impressions, we can have different impressions that are obtained on both sides of the sheet metal. So you can see there is a different shape over here, and there is a different shape over here. This is a currency of a country. Clear? So we have this coining process basically. And I'll just stop over here, and we'll go to the next slide in the next video.